I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here watching me piss off liberals and Democrats up in Washington, D.C. And for that, I am forever grateful. Speaking of pissing off liberals and Democrats up in Washington, D.C., and all across the nation is tonight's lead story. Of all people to get their hands on this, it happens to be Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Reveal new details about the January 6th Capitol storming during his show yesterday, airing some of the roughly 40,000 hours of security camera footage recently obtained from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. That is correct. Now that the Republicans are in charge of the House, they have all the information that the committee investigating January 6th had, and they released all the footage to him, for whatever reason, to go through and determine, is there really anything to this? 40,000 hours worth that his team has to go through. Carlson described the footage as debunking Democrats' narratives about what took place that day, showcasing less violent activities than is typically discussed and described. It is mostly a peaceful chaos. He claimed that one video overturns the single most powerful and political useful lie about the January 6th incident, that protesters killed Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, saying that protesters in the Capitol were largely not insurrectionists. They were sightseers. Carlson played clips of some apparently to give each other tours of the facility from members of Congress and the police. Picked up informational materials and take selfies. Other footage focused on the so-called QAnon shaman, a protester named Jacob Chansley, who became notorious for walking the Senate floor in his antler and fur headdress. The footage, which does not have audio, appears to show police officers guiding Chansley through the Capitol, even attempting to open doors for him, but not stopping or arresting him at no time. Carlson also described footage as showing Sicknick, the deceased Capitol police officer, healthy and vigorous after he was supposed to have suffered grave injuries during the event, according to the Democrat investigation. Capitol Police have stated that Sicknick collapsed after returning to his division office and was taken to the hospital, where he died the following day. Sicknick died after suffering 2 strokes. A medical examiner ruled his death natural, while adding that all that transpired played a role in his condition, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. A protester, Julian Cather, was sentenced to prison after pleading guilty to spraying Sicknick and other officers in the face with pepper spray. Carlson said he and his producers have unfettered access to the thousands of hours of footage obtained from Speaker McCarthy. and they pinpointed relevant moments using advanced mapping software on Capitol computers. He said Capitol Police reviewed the footage for security concerns, but the agency told The Hill on Monday that they were only given one clip. In an internal message to officers, Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger blasted Carlson, alleging that his coverage has been offensive and misleading conclusions. The commentary fails to provide content about the chaos and violence that happened before or during these less tense moments, Manger wrote, accusing Carlson of having cherry-picked video clips. Now, I haven't seen the video clips. All I've seen is what you all have seen, that the House Democrats, when they had control of the House and doing this investigation, released to the public. Although I've heard from many people who were there that day that contradicted many of the statements that the Democrats on this committee made. And many of my friends and people that I know that were there, some of them who actually filmed what was taking place, showed a mostly peaceful protest. Yes, there were some agitators within that group that did some horrible shit, broke some things, stole some things. But we're only talking about a small group compared to how many people actually were there. And 3/4 of that crowd didn't even go into the Capitol. But we were told that the Capitol Police were inviting people in and showing them around. We also know that there was an FBI informant, and more to come with this. And I'm not going to go all into it right now because I want to make sure I get all my T's crossed and my I's dotted before I do. But basically, this FBI informant was pushing people to riot and trying to get people to do violent things. And nothing came of it. He did not go to prison like the rest did. And there is video evidence of that, supposedly, that Tucker Carlson now has from the House Speaker. And the Fox News team is going to go through all this video. And there's no doubt that another narrative is going to come out. And at least from what Fox News is saying, it's going to show a 180 from what the Democrat committee showed to the American public. What is factual is the only human being that was killed that day was an unarmed female U.S. military veteran shot and killed by a Capitol police officer. No one else died during that event on January 6th, or at least not caused by anybody that was there. Were there some people that did some horrible shit and attacked police? Yes. Were there people that sprayed cops with mace? Yes. Were there some people that should be charged and have been charged and sentenced? Yes. But the narrative that was played out in the House committee that the Democrats did, the dog and pony show, is going to turn out to be egg on their face when it's all said and done from the information that we're hearing so far. And Tucker Carlson is going by just the video evidence. The pieces that supposedly the Democrats talk about with things, for instance, one of the police officers being hit with a fire extinguisher, didn't happen. It's on footage. A fire extinguisher was held by a protester. It was raised up by the protester, but it never left his hands and it never struck the cop. But you wouldn't know that by listening to the January 6th House Democrat Committee, would you? No. I'm not going to sit here and say that Fox News is the golden boy group that should have access to this. Personally, I think it should be an independent investigation to look at this evidence, not a news source, not Fox, not CNN, not MSNBC, none of them. Because hands down, Fox is going to show you just the right-wing side of it. There needs to be an independent investigation that is reviewing this 40,000 hours worth of videotape. And whether or not that will happen, I don't know. But I'm not going to go too deep into that until I personally see the videos that Tucker Carlson is going to be piecing out to show us, compared to what the House showed us when they did their investigation. Moving on. An illegal immigrant violently assaulted a female Border Patrol agent while she was making her arrest. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Services have reported. The agent, who remains unidentified, was taking a male illegal immigrant into custody over the weekend, Saturday, when he attacked her, injuring her face and arms. The CBP told Fox News Digital. The agent was able to struggle with the culprit until backup arrived and the man was subdued. On March 4th, 2023, at approximately 4 a.m., a U.S. Border Patrol agent assigned to the Tucson sector took a suspect into custody near Foundy Road and State Route 92. After investigating the subject's illegal entry into the United States, while being placed in a service vehicle, the subject assaulted the agent, injuring the face and hands. Additionally, agents responded and took the suspect into custody. The assaulted agent was transported to a medical center. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating the assault on a federal officer. The Cochise County Sheriff's Office is also investigating. The U.S. CBP tracks hundreds of thousands of encounters each month at the U.S.-Mexican border. The unprecedented crisis has continued to worsen under the Biden administration. New York City Police are telling businesses they should require customers to take off their mask as a condition of entry into their business. I'll repeat that. New York City Police are telling businesses they should require customers to take off their mask as a condition of entry, aimed a surge in robberies that are happening all across New York City. New York PD Chief of Department Jeffrey Mattery said during a press conference last week that masks are making it possible for thieves to escape detection on video surveillance, according to local PIX 11. People are coming to our businesses, sometimes with masks, sometimes mask hoods and latex gloves, and they're being allowed. They're being buzzed in and allowed to enter the stores and then commit robberies, Mattering said. He was asked the businesses to make this a condition of entry, that people, when they come in, they have to show their face. They should identify themselves. The department chief continued. Most businesses in the city wouldn't allow unmasked customers because of the pandemic. We need our businesses to be protected and to do diligence. We need to make sure people are identifying themselves. Francisco Matri, an owner in the Bronx of a business who spoke to local WABC TV, says he fears the unmasking guidance from the NYPD could lead to confrontations with customers who want to stay masked because of COVID-19. That would be great if everyone could come in with their face up so the camera can see it and we can all see it. But we cannot force them to take off their masks, said Metric, who has reportedly been shot 3 times. He's installed facial recognition in his video surveillance system, according to the outlet. They have to try to do something to try to bring the crime down because it's out of control. Grocery store patron Norman Jean told WABC, I don't remember it being this bold and in your face. Now, on the other hand, Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, is touting that shootings have decreased 17% in 2022 and murders fell 11% when compared to 2021 data. But what he's not saying is that violent crimes fell, robberies, burglaries, felony assaults, grand larceny, and other crimes continue in the city, marking an increase of such crimes by 22% compared to 2021. So, for those that want to wear a mask, that's fine. How about this for a policy? You show up at the door, you have to remove your mask just for the scanning recognition camera system, and then you can put it back on so the camera can see your face, what you're wearing. Then in you go and continue to wear your mask and shop. Sounds pretty damn simple to me, but what do I know? A Minnesota Democrat in the state legislation is facing criticism after allegedly posting online that white Christians who adopt Native American children are contributing to genocide. That's right, you heard me correctly. Couldn't make this shit up if you tried. Went on to say, I'm sick of white Christians adopting our babies and rejoicing. Minnesota State Representative Heather Keeler posted on her personal Facebook page recently, according to Alpha News. It's a really sad day when that happens. It means the genocide continues. If you care about our babies, advocating against genocide, the post continued, help the actual issues impacting Indigenous parents. Stop stealing our babies and changing their names under the impression you are helping. White saviors are the worst. The post from Keller, who's a Native American and enrolled members of the Yakana Sioux tribe, followed up on a post from her professional Facebook page with a similar sentiment that she said stripping Native American children of their identity is a form of genocide. So let me understand this. You prefer that they just stay in the foster care program along with the other thousands of kids hoping one day to be adopted? They don't give a shit who adopts them as long as they're going to be taken care of, as long as they're going to be fed and given medical attention and education and treated with respect and dignity. Who the fuck cares if they're white, black? It doesn't matter. What the fuck is wrong with you people who seem to think this is white genocide? The fact that you even come up with some kind of bullshit like this should be an immediate removal from Congress. Jeez. The Republican Party of Minnesota responded to the comments, calling the post a racist rant. There's no place in our political discourse for attacks on Minnesotans, race, or religion, Minnesota Republican Party Chairman David Hand said in a statement. We condemn this hateful and extremist rhetoric in its strongest possible terms and call on all Democrats to do the same. The statement named prominent Democrats in the state who should unequivocally denounce this hate speech immediately, although they're not. Wheeler is co-sponsoring a bill that will make improvements to the Federal Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 that establishes child protection procedures and requirements for children who are members of an eligible for membership in a federally recognized tribe. According to a press release, the bill makes technical changes and adds numerous provisions to the Minnesota Indian Family Preservation Act, incorporating federal procedures and requirements for voluntarily and involuntarily child placement and permanent proceedings. The Supreme Court is weighing whether it should toss out, severely dismantle the Indian Child Welfare Act meant to protect Native American rights in state child custody proceedings. It has long been championed by tribal leaders as a means to preserve their family and their culture. Okay, so white people, just if you're going to adopt a white baby. Black people, if you're going to adopt, just adopt a black baby. Indians, if you're going to adopt, just adopt an Indian baby. Is that fucking racism 101 or what? You know, sadly, the most adoptions done in America are done by white families. No other race, but white families, the majority of them. And considering that, we see children of all races being adopted by white families should prove that they're not racist. Now, if they go adopt, a white family goes and adopts a black child, and they got them out picking cotton in their backyard, it's a different fucking story. Then it's a story. Then it's a problem. Then somebody needs to have their ass kicked. But that's not what's happening. My God, our system is full of unwanted children, and you fucking racist bigot Democrats are going to sit there and throw some shit up like this? Huh. And that ain't all, my friends. Nope. Let's continue on with racist bigot Democrats. A critical race theorist and professor demanded that black people should get special behavioral levy and counseling services in order to deal with issues relating to systemic racism. Angel Jones is a visiting professor at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, whose work is grounded in critical race theory and critical race feminism. CRT is an ideology and lens that holds American institutions are systemically racist and views individuals as an oppressor versus oppressive narrative. Critical race theory postulates that policies that privilege oppressed people should be implemented in order to achieve equality and make up for historical wrongs. Jones argued that black faculty should be granted special paid time off and mental health therapy to deal with events of alleged police brutality in an article published in the Times Higher Education on February 23rd. Well, fuck me running backwards. Are you shitting me? This is a fucking educator in our American system that is a racist bigot. Let's continue, shall we? Jones did not immediately respond to requests for comment on whether she supported behavioral leave for all minorities and oppressed categories. Oh, hell no, she won't. I'm a proud educator who loves what I do. But before that, I am a black woman, she wrote. A black woman who is expected to return to business as usual on Monday after seeing a member that she murdered on Friday. Well, maybe the member of the community shouldn't be out jacking people up and running from the cops and attacking police officers and setting and looting and burning shit. Maybe that should be where you spend your fucking attention and your money and your effort. But no. Oh no, that would be too fucking easy. And your brain doesn't work that way, obviously. Although it is customary for employees to receive support and understanding while grieving the loss of a loved one, the same care is rarely shown to the Black community when we lose someone in horrific and traumatic ways. Where's our Black repayment leave? She said. Where's our white one? Where's it at, madam? You know what the percentage is of Black people shot and killed in America by cops compared to whites? It ain't even close. More white people are shot and killed by cops than Black people. And guess what? That's their own fucking fault for doing stupid shit. Now, when we find out that a cop went above and beyond and did something dumb and the shooting wasn't justified, then fuck them, put them away in prison. It doesn't matter to a white cop or a Black cop. But this what she's doing is racist. This is racist. She called campus-wide statements to students in the aftermath of racial events in the news as obligatory and performative, adding it didn't go far enough to address Black faculty trauma, which they need to process. Good gosh, this is so fucking hard. She wants Black educators to be able to have time off to grieve because a Black kid jacked up somebody, had a gun, pulled on a cop, and the cop had to shoot and kill him. So they should be able to have time off work to process that. Get the fuck out of here. Where are our counseling services? She said. Where's our grace for missed meeting and deadlines while we mourn? Yes, we have jobs to do and students to support, but we also have trauma to process. In order to deal with racial battle fatigue, the professor said funding should be allocated to the mental health of Black staff only. Racial battle fatigue refers to the psychological consequences of experiencing racism. Fuck. I got racial battle fatigue reading this. What are you going to do for me, madam? Jones said the proclaimed psychological phenomenon has been well documented and can have deadly symptoms, including suicidal thoughts. So now all Black professors are going to start thinking about suicide because they heard a poor little Jerome Washington who broke into somebody's house and got his fucking ass shot. Racial battle fatigue, the professor said, can also cause elevated heart rate, tension headaches, and stomach ulcers. Let me stop right there for a second. If you are a teacher in America, I don't give a fuck if you're in elementary or a professor in a college. I guarantee you your health care benefits provide for you to get some sort of mental health treatment as needed. I guarantee it. 100% guarantee. There ain't an educator in America that doesn't have that benefit available to them, especially a college professor. Prove me wrong. We experience these symptoms on a regular basis as a result of our firsthand racial trauma, she said. Free counseling services, by cultured, competent counselors familiar with identifying and addressing racial battle fatigue should be available at all times. In addition to counseling, Jones demanded Black behavioral leave in order to have the space and time to grieve. Well, I guess y'all aren't going to even show up for fucking work. Because if you look at who's committing all the fucking crimes, especially the black on black crimes in all your major fucking cities, especially up here in this fucking area of town where she's at, in Minnesota, for crying out loud, you're never going to go to work because you got racial battle fatigue. You know how many black youth are shooting and killing black youth every fucking day in America? Hundreds of them. You know how many black youth are illegally shot by a cop every year? I can count them on one hand. How many are shot because it was a justified shooting? It's on camera. There's witnesses. Huh. Yeah. It's a high number. It shouldn't be. Teach those little guys and girls to fucking respect human nature and not go out and do horrible shit. Same way my daddy taught me. You go out and do something dumb and the cops get a hold of your ass, Doug, I hope they beat the fuck out of you. And then when they bring you home, I'm going to beat your ass. Is that happening in the black community or any other community? I'll be 61 years old here real soon. And in my generation, look, you ask anybody in my age group what it was like growing up. Hell, if you go down the street and you do something stupid at somebody else's house, their parent could beat your ass and then bring you home and tell your parent what you did, and then your parent will beat your ass and thank the neighbor for beating your ass. And that's a fact. But no, that's not how we do shit now, is it? No. Now we got to coddle all these little bitches and bastards and treat them with kid gloves and let them get away with whatever the fuck they want to. Like the Antifa thugs and the BLM thugs. It's absolute insanity. And now we have college professors talking about there's no merit to this. None. It's not true. It's a fucking lie to start with. Because cops aren't going out shooting and killing innocent black people. It's not happening. This isn't the 1940s or 50s or even 60s, for crying out loud. What you're doing is for people that really are mistreated by law enforcement or mistreated by the system or mistreated because they're racially discriminated against. You're spitting in their face with this no merit bullshit that you guys keep coming up with. Stop it. Fucking stop it, because it's not true. But you teach that to your youth to make them grow up to hate all white people. That's what's happening. My black friends, my black Republican friends, they're all laughing at this shit the Democrats are doing. They're laughing at it, going, what the fuck? They can't even imagine how they come up with this crap. They know it's not true. But what happens with the black Democrats? They call the black Republicans that are calling them out on it Uncle Toms. Oh, you just abide to the white man. It's fucking sad. It's sad. Do you want a civil war again? Is that what this is about? What is your point here? To come up with things that just aren't true as an educator and try and spread it as if it is. Behavior on the base of race requires a day off, an ability to work from home, a deadline extension, and to have their workload reassigned. Including these benefits will help with the retention of black faculty and staff. Don't assume you know what they want or need just because you read this article. Anti-blackness is international, so your efforts to combat it must also be, she said. You need to be locked up in a fucking straitjacket in a padded room for the rest of your remaining time breathing oxygen on planet Earth, because you are a danger to society if you're spreading this bullshit to kids. Speaking of people spreading bullshit, and speaking of black people, once again, Joe Biden on Sunday remarked that he was involved in the civil rights movement during a speech in Selma, Alabama. A claim that remains to this day unproven because it's not true and it never happened. The president visited the historic city to commemorate the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday March, a pivoting moment in the 1960s civil rights movement. I was a student up north in the civil rights movement, Biden said to the crowd. I remember feeling how guilty I was. How could all this be happening? How could we be all up there and you going down here, going through what you're going through, he continued. But there's no historical evidence to support Biden's claim whatsoever. Sunday's speech was not the first time Biden has claimed to be involved in the civil rights movement. In 1983, Biden claimed that he participated in sit-in protests to segregate public spaces. He said, when I was 17, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate restaurants and movie houses, Biden said, and my stomach turned upon hearing the voices of people like Wallace. My soul raged on seeing Bull Connor and his dogs. Former Birmingham Public Safety Commissioner Theophilus Bull Connor was famous for using fire hoses and police canines against civil rights demonstrators. It does not appear that Biden ever participated in a sit-in. Now, let me stop right there for a second. Does anybody have a problem if law enforcement used canines and fire hoses on Antifa or BLM at their rioting and burning down shit and torching police cars and injuring people? Anybody? I don't give a fuck. They're white, black. If you're out there terrorizing the city, fucking turn a fire hose on your ass. Bet you go home then. Get shot with beanbags. Bet your ass to go home then. Oh, and then they go get lawyers and they sue the police, and the police department pays out and doesn't want to go to trial in fear of how much money it's going to cost them. Because these civil rights attorneys jump right into that fucking silly shit. Moving on, it does not appear that Biden ever participated in a sit-in because he did not. Since the 1980s, Biden has claimed that he walked out of a restaurant as a high school student because a black student wasn't welcome there. The former student later contradicted that claim, saying that Biden and other white students were oblivious to the situation. So, the black student that he talks about come out and said, Biden didn't walk out at all when we got kicked out of the restaurant. He didn't even fucking know we were kicked out of the restaurant. And he still continues to tell these lies. They weren't aware of what happened. Frank Hutchinson told the Philadelphia Inquirer back in 1987. I was only 16 then. It was my problem and my battle for me to walk out. They were oblivious to it. In 1987, Biden conceded that he was not an activist during the 1960s, despite believing in civil rights movement principles. He admitted it, that he wasn't part of this. During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. That's a big fucking difference and lying and saying you were there personally participating. I was not an activist, Biden explained. I did work in an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware once. I was involved in what they were thinking and what they were feeling. Last January, he implemented that he was arrested for being a civil rights activist. He spoke on campus shared by two historical black colleges, Morehouse College and Clark Atlanta University. I did not walk in the shoes of generations of students who walked these grounds, but I walked other grounds because I'm so damn old. I was there as well, Biden told the crowd. You think I'm kidding? Man, it seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested. The good news is, I can assure you, for those of you watching this show, because I've been to Selma, Alabama, many times actually. And there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of black people that live there. In fact, the city population is approximately 18,000 people. And 84% are black. Yet, the turnout for Biden's speech, when he gave these fucking lies, was about 100 people, and most were white. From the pictures and videos that I looked at online today of his speech, even the black people of Selma, Alabama, know that Joe Biden is a lying, racist bigot, and they didn't turn out. Two Americans who survived a violent kidnapping in Mexico have returned to the United States and been taken to a hospital in Texas. The two survivors have since been repatriated back to the United States. State Department spokesman Ned Price said at a news conference today. That occurred with the assistance of our Mexican partners, with the assistance of our officials in Mexico. We're in the process of working to repatriate the remaining of the two Americans that were killed in this incident. Two surviving Americans were transported to Brownsville, Texas. Ambulances with law enforcement escorts over the Veterans International Bridge and were seen leaving the bridge on the U.S. side of the border. From there, the two were taken to Valley Regional Medical Center in Brownsville to receive treatment, according to NBC News. News comes after it was revealed earlier today, that two of the four Americans who were victims of kidnappings died in the incident. The governor there said, according to the Associated Press of Tampicos, the four Americans were crossing from Brownsville into the Mexican city of Matamoros on Friday when their vehicle began receiving gunfire shortly after entering Mexico. Video from the scene showed armed men believed to be members of the Mexican drug cartel loading the victims into the back of a white truck, with two of the victims appeared to be injured or dead as the men dragged their bodies across the pavement. Another one of the victims was reportedly injured in the attack, while the fourth American was not injured. An innocent Mexican bystander was also killed in the incident, according to U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar. One of the four kidnapping victims was identified as Zelda Brown of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, by his older sister, Zadidra Brown. Brown told the Associated Press that her brother and two other friends were accompanying a fourth friend to Mexico for what? A tummy tuck surgery. The other three members were reportedly identified by family members as Letisa Tay McGee, Shadid Woodward, and Eric Wilson, also South Carolina. Price said the State Department is giving all appropriate assistance to needs in their family. We extend our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of the deceased, Price said, adding that Mexican and U.S. law enforcement work together to find these innocent victims, and that task force will assure that justice is done next. Well, no, it won't be because it's a cartel and nobody goes after them. Now, look, help any of you that still continue to go to fucking Mexico. Whether it's Cancun, Cozumel, Matamoros, doesn't fucking matter. Would you go hiking across the mountains of Afghanistan with the Taliban there? They want to kill Americans? How about Iraq? Iran? North Korea? No, unless you have a severe mental fucking issue. But yet, we have Americans willingly going across the border to Mexico for cheap prescriptions, for cheap medical procedures, or to go on vacation, knowing damn well the Mexican government is no longer in charge of that country. It is a war zone. The cartels run it, my friends. And you idiots continue to still go across the fucking southern border, whether it's by plane to fly to your cushy destinations or drive across. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? I've got no sympathy for you when you end up with the drug cartel taking your ass out or kidnapping your family. That's what they do over there. That's what's happening in Mexico. Where have you been? Watching MSNBC? I assume, or you don't pay any attention to what's happening in the news. Don't go to Mexico. Nowhere in Mexico are you safe. You're not safe there. Don't go there. The cartel is running the fucking resorts in Cozumel. They're running everything. The Mexican government are puppets. They're all on the take. And guess what? The cartel has also infiltrated America. And they're running our fucking border down there thanks to Joe Biden not giving a fuck about it. So you go down to Mexico and your ass gets kidnapped or killed, you brought it on yourself. Just like somebody would say if you went to fucking Afghanistan hiking or to Iran or Iraq or North Korea. What are you thinking? Don't do it. Use your fucking head. Don't go places that the own State Department, our State Department says is unsafe. I don't know. I don't get it. Former First Lady Michelle Obama. This could go in many ways, couldn't it? Oh boy. Let me start over again. Former First Lady Michelle Obama revealed that she cried for half an hour after she and former President Barack Obama boarded Air Force One upon leaving the White House for the last time. For half an hour, she cried uncontrollably. Now, you might ask yourself, why would this Black privileged woman cry so much? She's got everything. Money, fame, fortune. Her husband was the president of the United States. She was the first lady for 8 fucking years. Why is she crying? Oh, glad you asked. When the door shut, I cried for 30 minutes straight, uncontrollably sobbing, because that's how much we were holding it together for 8 years, the former First Lady said during an episode of her latest podcast. Obama described the roller coaster of emotion she felt on January 20th, 2017, after 8 years in the White House, noting that it was essentially the only home her children had ever known. Okay. Maybe I can see her getting a little emotional about that. That day was so emotional for so many different reasons, she said. We were leaving the home we had been in for 8 years, the only home our kids really knew, she continued. They remembered Chicago, but they had spent more time in the White House than anywhere. So we were saying goodbye to the staff and all the people who helped raise them. Now, she could have left it at that. She could have stayed classy and just left it at that. But when was she ever classy? Nope, she couldn't do it. Let's talk about more reasons why she cried uncontrollably for 30 minutes. The former First Lady revealed that she was not in good spirits on the day Donald Trump took her husband's place in the Oval Office, attacking the lack of diversity she noticed when Trump took the stage to be inaugurated in. To sit on that stage and watch the opposite of what we represented on display, there was no diversity. There was no color on that stage, Obama said. There was no reflection of the broader sense of America. Many people took pictures of me and they're like, you weren't in a very good mood. No, I was not. But you had to hold it together like we did for 8 years, she added. She also took aim at claims that Trump made about the size of the crowd at his inauguration, arguing that there weren't that many people there. You walk through the Capitol, you wave goodbye, you get on Marine One, and you take your last flight over the Capitol, Obama said. There weren't that many people there. We saw it, by the way. Former First Lady's feelings about that day were similar to her husband's, who opened up about his concern the day Trump took over during the 2017 interview with Prince Harry. Well, the first thing that went through my mind was sitting across from Michelle, how thankful I was that she had been my partner through the whole process, the former president said, adding that he had concerns about how the country moves forward, but overall there was a sincerity. There was more things happening, more emotions than what I would expect. Now, all you have to do, if you weren't able to watch the inauguration yourself because it was broadcast live for the whole fucking world to see, is look it up right here on YouTube and watch it for yourself and see for yourself how big the crowds were and see for yourself the diversity that was on that stage. Women, men, black, white, Muslim, Hispanic, every race, every sex, every religion. Were there probably more white people than black people? Yes, because there's more white people on planet Earth than there are black people on planet Earth. Other than being a racist bigot, what else can you say about Michelle Obama? It is what it is. And obviously she thinks that we don't have the ability to look it up ourselves. Republican Texas State Representative Brian Slayton introduced the bill yesterday to allow Texans to vote on whether the Lone Star State should secede from the United States of America. If the Texas legislation passes the Texas Independence Reform Act, or Texan, a referendum will be placed on the ballot during the 2024 general election. The Texas Constitution is clear that all political power resides in the people of Texas. After decades of continuous abuse of our rights and liberties by the federal government, it is time to let the people of Texas make their voices heard, Slayton said in a statement. House Bill 3596 will allow Texas to investigate the possibility of Texas independence and present potential plans to the legislature. The bill is sponsored by the Texas National Movement, a grassroots movement with more than 440,000 members pushing for Texas independence. The people of Texas will look back on this day as a historic first step in taking back our autonomy and our right to self-determination from the federal government, Texas National Monument President Daniel Miller said to Fox News in a statement. However, the measure received backlash from his fellow Republican state representative, Jeff Leach, who tweeted the plan was ridiculous and the very definition was hypothetical and seditious treason and is already dead on arrival. Slayton filed the bill of the 187th anniversary of the Alamo, famous battle that symbolized the struggle for Texas independence. He said that Texas was born out of a desire for liberty and self-governance, and that desire continues to burn in the hearts of all Texans. So what do you think? What do you think Texas should do? Do you think they have the right to put this on the ballot? Do you think that other states have the right to do the same thing? I want to know. I want you to comment on this video. I would like to know your personal opinion. Does Texas have the right, or any other state, to say we want to secede from the Union and become our own country? Other countries are doing it. They're doing it in Europe. Should we be allowed to do it here? If the majority of the people of Texas vote for such a thing, should it be allowed? Or any state for that matter? Florida, Arkansas, Minnesota, California. No, that won't happen. They would probably vote to become a communist country. But let me know. Let me know your personal feelings. I would like to hear them. Because, look, I was born and raised in America. I served this country with honor in the military and in law enforcement. And I no longer recognize it. I don't know what happened to the America that I once served for, because this ain't it. This country is being torn apart at the seams by far left ideology that has managed to infiltrate everything from our school system to our federal government. And if Texas was able to do this, guess what? I'd pack up my family and we would move to Texas, because I'm as sick of what this federal government is doing to we the people than I've ever been at any point in my life. I love my country. I love my flag. I fear this government that has run amok and does not give two shits about me or you. Folks, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to this channel, my other channel, Charlie Hotel 47. Also, go check out DouglasDucote.com if you haven't been there. In the description of this video and all my videos and shows, I'll tell you where else you can follow me on social media, and I hope that you do. And whatever you're doing tonight for the rest of this week, I hope that you're safe. And I hope that you come back and you will join me on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central for another show where we continue to share the truth about what's happening in our country and abroad with our government, both parties, of the corruption, of the things that are taking place that most of the news skips right the fuck over, and they shouldn't. Some of the things that I bring to you should be top of the news on every outlet out there. Everybody should be able to hear these stories, but only a few do. For those of you that tune in for it, I appreciate it. And I thank you very, very much. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. And we need God's blessing more today than it probably at any time, at least in my lifetime, and probably in the history of this country, because it's not looking good, my friends. Take care. God bless you. And I'll see you soon. Good night.